Hello and welcome to Porch Time with Bill Benson. And the porch is always a fun time for me and hopefully for you and hopefully for my guests. And every episode, I just feel like I bring in this eclectic, talented group of friends of mine that I want you to get to know. And on this episode, I have Mark Lewis Miller from Bethlehem. Mark.
Welcome, Bill.
My pleasure to have you on here, and we get right into the music on the porch.
All right.
So play a song, pick a song.
Here you go. I'm dancing alone this evening with a drink after dinner is through. I'm dancing alone this evening, and I'm thinking about dancing with you. You told me your story at dinner. I told you mine as I should. I think somewhere in there I lost you. Maybe I misunderstood. I don't know what you're feeling, and I don't know how long we'll be here. But I know there's a reason I met you, and that reason ain't exactly clear. So I'm dancing alone this evening with a drink after dinner is through. I'm dancing alone this evening. I'm thinking about dancing with you. Well, this time we have here, it's fleeting, and it seems as if we're standing still. This time it's not without meaning, and it will change us despite what we will. Someday you'll look back on this season, and someday you'll look back in your mind. Somewhere in my dream there's a reason. It was the season, leave a reason behind. And I'm dancing alone this evening with a drink after dinner is through. You're dancing alone this evening, and I'm thinking about dancing with you. We're dancing alone this evening with a drink after dinner is through. We're dancing alone this evening. I'm thinking about dancing with you.
Define your style.
Well, that's a good,
You don't have to. I don't want to box it.
That's right. That's a good question.
Define it.
It's just whatever feels right to me. I've been involved in a lot of kinds of music. I went to the Berklee College of Music. I got involved with a lot of jazz music. My first CD was primarily a jazz CD, and I really was. Well, for most of my career, more of an instrumentalist, as a sideman in bands and as a writer. My second CD was also all instrumental. I've done a little bit of movie work. So I've worked in stuff that's kind of almost classical sounding, kind of jazz sounding. That's a kind of a country song that I just did. I've written rock songs. I kind of like to do a lot of different things, and just whatever feels right. And I often will try songs in a lot of different, since I've been writing songs, which basically more or less started for the most part when I got into the band, The Regulators. And often when I bring them to the band, I want to try them in like a few different styles or whatever, just to see what works right. So I'm really open to all kinds of stuff. I just love music.
Now, Berklee, did you have? Has guitar been your primary instrument?
Guitar's my main instrument. I play some other instruments. When I was at school, I wasn't very good. So that wasn't my focus. I was doing better as in the writing area there when I got to Berkeley right away. I kind of got a little more success, a little more confidence in the compositional area. I kept studying, and just about when I left there, I felt like I was starting to kind of get somewhere on the guitar. You know, I'd studied with a guy for the whole time I was there, and I kind of felt like I was getting somewhere. When I first got there, you know, when I get into this story, they placed me in an ensemble based on that I could read a little bit, and they put me in with these guys, and I was 17, and I went in there and they started playing all these like Chick Corea songs and stuff. I was like completely lost.
Wasn't quite sure where you were
By the end of
supposed
4
to go
years, I was
there.
almost there. But
But I mean, that really, jazz is a lot of, to me, a lot of semi-improvisational, so you need to be able to go and flow and kind of follow. I'm sure there's sheet music, but there's also that improvisational aspect.
Right. I think, you know, what's challenging and what I think is good about jazz, I think, you know, for any musician to study it, and certainly my experience from playing it, is that you really have to know your stuff, right? Because in order to do the improvisation, you kind of got to know everything. Like you got to know the tune, you got to know the form, you got to know your harmony and your theory, and you got to know your instrument. So it's a music that demands that you really put some work in. And so I think, and I think that improvisational approach, you know, that's something that I carry over into all the music that I do. Just that openness to trying and seeing where a song can go and what you can get out of it.
I had a young kid show up on my CD a couple of years ago that was going to the University of Miami, and
good school.
He was in a jazz ensemble, and what the beauty of it was, he just showed up at the studio and he started playing along to a track he didn't know.
Right.
He never rehearsed. And he ended up on the CD because he knew, being an ensemble player, he knew his part and his piece, so that he didn't step over anything. So, and that I think, you know, is missing in some musicians, and I'm sure that as a writer and as a band leader, you know, you have that mental picture of what it is supposed to sound like. And so then, as long as you can create the parts and the pieces that you want, you create a better sound.
Right. You know, it's interesting because if you look at, you know, the history of like rock and roll and pop music in the 50s and 60s, you know, most of the studio musicians, at least originally, were jazz musicians. Right. Because they would get them because they could read. Right. They could knock stuff out quick. Right. You know, they could come up with parts. Right. And so, you know, a lot of the, like, you know, the early rock records, you know, guys like Barney Kessel and stuff were playing on them. And most of those Wrecking Crew musicians, you know, a lot of those guys came from jazz backgrounds and whatnot, and they were just could do it. Go in there and just make something happen quick.
So can you play a jazzy sounding song?
Sure. Here's one it's got a swing kind of. I'd like to say when I held you tight, the earth moved beneath us and it felt just right. Stars are falling all around us, but I couldn't tell. I'd like to say our love will never die, it'll live forever, but I just can't lie. Truth is I'm writing a book, working title my time in hell. I never felt that I was wasting my time, but these past few years might make me change my mind. You've been treating me just like a drunk, treats an empty bottle of wine. I'd like to say that I knew you when we once were lovers, but we're still friends. I'd like to say that, but I just can't lie. I never felt like I was wasting my time. The past few years might make me change my mind. You've been treating me just like a drunk, She's an empty bottle of wine. And years from now, when cooler heads prevail, I'd like to say when I relate this tale, I remember our time together as something worthwhile. Yeah, I remember our time together as something worthwhile.
I love jazz chords. I just can't play them. Well, I probably could if I practiced.
You can. I mean, there's lots of, like James Taylor uses like the 4, major 7 chords and stuff like that. There's definitely, it's there in pop music. James Taylor's really kind of a folk guy, right? But he gets them in there. He's got that thing in his ear too, like in his stuff. He's got a little jazz and blues kind of influence. He used a lot of jazz musicians. Don Grolnick, a great jazz player, played in James Taylor's band for many, many years till he passed away.
Right.
So
I remember as a kid discovering Leo Kottke and those guys around that, and I would just look at them and go,
it's a monster. He's a monster. I've never seen him live. I have his record, but it hurts almost just to listen to him play. It seems so hard.
And they make it look so.
And he's doing it on a 12-string.
Yeah. nutty. So you're from Bethlehem. You have you do a duo as well as solo and a band.
Yep. Since I've been here in Connecticut, I've been in Connecticut since '99. When I first got up here, the first thing I got involved with was a band called the Rust Farmers. You know Dwayne Andrews?
No.
Yeah, that was a band that was kind of a funky New Orleans kind of a thing, and we played around. And then I started doing some solo gigs, and signed up at the Crown and Hammer. And then I got started this band, The Regulators. I had met this guy, Marty Carlson, who helped me. He has a studio up in Warren, and he had helped me on my second CD. And we kind of were talking, one of these days we have to do something. And then eventually he kind of got freed up, and I was freed up, and we decided to start a band. And the original idea was for it to be a copy band that would play some kind of stuff that we liked that was a little more obscure. Like we were tired of playing the same 200 songs that all the bands play, right? So, which maybe we'd be working more if we did. But
Oh, not.
So that's how it started, and then we started throwing in an original song or two. I think our drummer Jonathan Lick did, right? And Jonathan kind of encouraged us to write original stuff, and so then one thing led to another, and then we started writing. Marty had a few songs, and lo and behold, we ended up putting out a CD back in 2016 of all original music. There's 15 original songs on there, and actually 2 instrumentals on there. One of Marty's and one of mine. And it actually made a little noise. It got on some charts. It was on this Roots Rock Report is a chart, and we were on their Roots. We were number 79 for the year 2016 on their chart. We made it as high as number 16, and we even made it onto the Americana music chart, which is the bigger one. We almost cracked the top 100 on that at one point, but but it got some good, we didn't sell a lot of them, but the DJs around the country liked it.
Well, they often, when they can actually play different things than what they're told to play, they are the ears. I mean, back when I was a kid, the FM stations were the DJs going, and now it's college, but this is what I want.
Radio.
This is what I want you to listen to. This is what I like. This is what I want you to listen to.
There's a guy out in Colorado who has a community radio. He loved the CD, and I emailed him back to ask him if I could use a quote. And he said, I still playing your CD. So if you're out in western Colorado, you might hear it.
So in all of your influences, all of the things, the music that you grew up with, is there a genre or is there an artist that you most connect with?
Well, I don't think there's one, but there certainly are a lot of ones that, like certainly I grew up with the Beatles, and my older sister and brother, kind of turned me on to a lot of that, but they certainly had a huge impact on me. and such that, you know, I kind of grew up with them. So as they were doing their progression,
right.
I was kind of growing up with them.
Right.
You know, so that really had a big impact. I was waiting for that next Beatles album when you were young,
right.
and I was kind of just old enough to be like that. And I wasn't really old enough to buy them, but I was aware of them through my sister and brother. I knew there was always this anticipation, and so that had a big influence on me. You know, I guess, you know, the music that was around the house was like maybe some standards, Andy Williams and stuff like that. And but then I got into jazz, and certainly artists like Duke Ellington and Charles Mingus. Those people really had an impact, because what I admired about them was they were great instrumentalists, they were great composers, and they were great band leaders. You know, and I remember a professor at college telling me, "Well, you got to do one or the other. You got to either write or play." And I was like, "No, I want to do both." You know, so maybe you know, there was maybe something to that, but I always admired those people that did it all. You know, did it so well that they could pick a band, you know, and knew how to put a band together. They knew how to write. They knew how to, and they were great on their
And you know,
instruments.
and that is true, because one of my all-time favorite vocalists, who, and I call it, maybe it's writing and interpreting, but one of my favorite vocalists is Joe Cocker.
Yeah, great interpreter. Some people are great interpreters.
Amazing at
Linda Ronstadt's another great interpreter. Right?
Did he write anything
No.
great? No. But, you know, he could sing the heck out of a Dylan song.
He could make a song
or
of
Beatles
his
song,
own.
and it became Joe Cocker.
Yeah. That's
And
how Linda Ronstadt.
Johnny Cash once said, you know, you sing a song that somebody else wrote, and everybody has to, you know, you when you sell it, or I'm paraphrasing, but when you sell it, they think it's yours.
Yeah.
And that's
Exactly.
so.
That's not easy to do.
It is not. It is not. Not at all.
It's like playing an instrument. You know, if you can play an instrument in a way that people recognize it's you right away, that's really hard to do,
Right,
especially
right.
in nowadays world where everybody hears the same stuff. You
Right,
know?
right.
It's really anything where you have a distinctive voice, you know. Like,
I've been fortunate over the last couple of years, as I've developed, where I've had, certainly in my small circle of the world, people say to me, you know, as soon as I heard that song, I knew it was you.
there you go.
Or I heard you play the guitar. I didn't even have to see that it was you. So, you know, so there is that part that we all get to,
Right.
And hopefully keep growing with.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. When I was younger, and part of it was because I wasn't that good at it, but I kind of resisted that. Thing which a lot of musicians did. When I was at school, everybody was doing, like, just sitting down and copying things, you know, note for note, and I was like, I always wanted to kind of come up with something of my own, you know, and I think it was, not that I didn't listen and absorb, but I kind of got my influence more through absorption than actually sitting down and picking it apart.
Right.
Nowadays, I might go back and pick something apart, but back then I was just kind of absorbing it.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, for a number of years, I resisted playing cover songs.
Yeah.
Because I wanted only my songs and my performances, which was great. However, I have a catalog of songs that I didn't write, that I interpret, that are certainly my version of them,
sure.
that have similarities or certain things that recognize, or they can recognize what the song is, but they've become my song. So.
Yeah, it's funny how it is. I've played gigs around here where people are like, "Would you play something that I know?" And I've heard, and I always want to go there to Austin. I've heard when you go to Austin, if you're playing, they'll be like, "Don't you have any songs of your own?"
Yeah.
They like demand original music
yeah.
down there. They don't want you to play covers. They want to hear original music.
And that is those hubs are the hubs of where a lot of music really lives, and people understand it and want it to be there. Here, it's like really, and I've turned down gigs or just said I don't need to go back because the people seem to want to hear the song that they might as well turn the radio on. And I'm not going to do that for you. Speaking of that, play another favorite song of yours.
Let's see. What was I going to do? Here's a song of mine. I'll put the capo on for this one. This one, we've been playing it with the band. Maybe it'll get on our next CD. We started working on our next CD recently. When you're running for your life, you're resting the day, and
and you move at night. You gave your money to a man, meet him after midnight. Now something don't smell right, he should have been here by now. And you keep running away from that sound. The town that you're from is now a hole in the ground. Some people far away think they get to decide where you will live or if you will die. So you had to choose to stay or to run, to move your family or to take up a gun. And you keep running away from that sound. The town that you're from is just a hole in the ground. To look back and say you made it through. Yeah, you slipped through the cracks. Will you live or die? You just don't know. But you know you can't stay. You know you gotta go. And you keep running away from that sound. The town you just left, it's now a hole in the ground. Yeah, you keep running, yeah, away from that sound. And the innocence lost will never be found.
How old is that?
Pretty new.
Yeah.
A couple years old.
Yeah. So you've played 3 songs. Mm-hmm. I hear a little bit of a little difference in all of them, which is good.
That's what I was trying to tell you.
Which is good. So do you ever have listeners confused about who you are?
No, not too much. I don't know. They've never expressed it to me.
Well, and I asked that question only in that because I did hear 3 different styles, and I don't know whether as the band you play the songs differently, or they come together differently, or.
Yeah, it's interesting because I guess I'm just a little bit different that way. Like with our CD, like I'll hear Marty say to his friends, yeah, like it's all over the place. Like every tune's like different, and I listen to it, I'm like, it sounds like coherent to me. Right. To me, it all sounds logical. You know,
right.
It doesn't sound so different. Like I just know how much
Are you the primary writer?
Primarily, like on that CD, probably I think 10 or 11 of the songs are mine out of 15. And to me, I mean, they're all just expressions of mine. So I identify them as being part of me, so that I hear the similarity in them, I guess. To me, they don't sound, I mean, I'm aware, I'm not oblivious to the fact that they're stylistically different, but I hear a commonality between them, I guess, that I relate to,
Okay. So, where can our viewers
catch up with me?
Catch up with you.
Well, the Regulators have a website, theregulatorsmusic.com, and so that's where you can find out where our gigs are. You can check out some tracks from our CD, see some videos, see some pictures, contact us. You can contact me through there. I'm on Facebook. The Regulators have a page on Facebook. I don't have an individual page, but I usually post my gigs on Facebook. I'm always Mark Lewis Miller because there's thousands of Mark Millers out there.
And you have product.
I have products.
We have 3 CDs.
3 CDs. The first 2 are instrumental CDs.
And which one? These 2 here, right?
Yep.
These are all instrumental?
Yeah. And that first CD, Fresh Air, it's interesting. That's recorded with using all musicians that I knew from Long Island scene. And since I made that CD, some of them have gone on to play with some really big names, like Billy Joel and Jennifer
really?
Lopez.
Oh,
And,
wow.
and Mark Anthony, and you know, you name it. These guys are all over the place.
And then you moved to Connecticut, and they
They're
ran away from
well,
you.
you know, Long Island's a funny scene because it's some really great musicians. Not so good for original music, but fantastic musicians.
Right.
And then the second CD was recorded up here, and it was primarily recorded because I wanted to do movie writing, and I wanted to put all these instrumental ideas I had. And it was somewhat successful. A couple pieces from it ended up in this movie called A Short History of Decay.
Oh. Sounds like an
And
interesting title.
yeah, it was an interesting movie. So that's that. And then The Regulators, which is more songs.
Yeah, excellent. So 3 CDs, Facebook, websites, and because the Porch is like I have way too much fun. Time goes by quickly, so what I always ask my guest is to play us out with another that is something that you want everybody in the audience to hear.
Sure. This has been fun. It's like being on Between the Two Ferns.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on, Mark.
Here's one. It's another new one.
Well, I take a piece of paper and I pick up a pen. Every once in a while, yeah, every now and then, I'll try to write a new song, so I'll have something to sing about you and me, about anything. Well, I went to the store to get something to eat, maybe something special. You maybe pick up a treat. They didn't have what we wanted, so we got the other thing. When your belly's talking, you're eating